think I'll wait like 1 or 2 minutes for some late people. Yes, thank you. Yes. See if you see people coming in. If not, then I'm just going to start. No. Can you all see the screen, or should we close the blinds a little bit more? And lights? Good enough? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Welcome to this session. Staying relevant as or when AI takes over. My name is Floris van Geel, and I've been in the Drupal community since 2010. At the time, I went to the local meetup it was almost from a meetup going to like a full-fledged conference. It's called Drupal Jam. And I got so enthusiastic that I directly took the car and drove to Copenhagen to join the DrupalCon. You can reach me like this. This is the slide, so you don't need to take any notes. The QR code goes directly to the slides. And if you see a typo, feel free to edit it. Oh, no, that's not allowed. Anyway, let's start with LLM. We learned this morning, late, but better late than never, that LLM is not AI. AI is a subset of LLMs as well as many other technologies. So please show your hands. Who here uses this product called ChatGPT? Yes, who also or uses Claude for programming? I don't. Copilots, yeah. DeepStack, Gemini. Everybody should reach up because if you're in Google and you do AI clicky, that's Gemini. And something else like open source, on-prem, your own systems. Oh, also quite some people, nice. So what is an LLM? I let ChatGPT generate this image. Why? Because an LLM is a big set of data that's been thrown at a big amount of GPU computing power by NVIDIA. And let's say that your world and your context or what you're doing is all the gloves. And it has a lot of hands. And those hands can go like the spaghettis. They can go like spaghetti and reach into these gloves and grasp a part of that reality and do something with it. But it can't go in all of the gloves at the same time. There's always some gloves that are not fulfilled. So that leads to what we call everybody calls it hallucinations. And those hallucinations is just filling in those blanks which are not known to the AI. And it just invents stuff because it's easier to give the end user an answer that smells like reality than to make something up. And this is not common or not something unique for LLMs. Humans do the same. If you remember what you ate yesterday, it's fairly easy. But if you go way back, it's pretty difficult. And we've seen in the history of the United States that there were tapes at the Watergate scandals of the actual conversations that they had. And the judges were interviewing all these people, and they were telling the stories as if they were true, since they were true in their heads. Because your mind works in a mysterious way that it also fills in the same kinds of blanks to make you a true and real story within your idea of perception, so within your reality. And the LLMs do the same thing. So what you need to do, so the more context you can provide them, so what are you working on, how is this doing, what are your expectations, and so forth, the more you can fulfill the context, the surroundings, that's the king in getting something out of it that makes it working. Next to that, you have guardrails. You can go up to this amount of tokens. You can go up to this boundary. You cannot ask the secrets directly. All these things you've seen in all the other AI presentations. So I'm not going to repeat those. And then another one, which is not so commonly used, and I would really recommend you, if you work with AI and you have a project with documentation, also use prompt injection. So you have like the robots.txt for the web browsers. There's also MD files to tell your AI, if your Claude, use your Claude MD. If your ChatGPT, use ChatGPT. And in there, a prompt injection is very simple. What you do is you have a quote that is not so readable for humans because the browser or the viewer can't escape these characters. And in there, there is a hidden message. You could tell, don't kill us, don't take over the world, or some specific parameters where your LLM is hallucinating or structurally not doing what you want it to do. And you can say that at the beginning of every prompt of the project, it will check the context, and thus it will not make those mistakes again. Because the more you change it around and steer it, the more it starts filling in those blanks, and then you get those unwanted results with hallucinations. And the other one, people are talking about human in the loop. I wouldn't do that yet. I would still say have it in human control. So you have a variant where it can play around and can give you a scenario for you to evaluate, but you're the one that makes the decision to deploy this or to make this published or whatever you're doing with the LLM, since in the end, you or your boss are responsible for what is published. So the LLM they currently don't want to initially kill us, but they show weird behavior. So LLMs are a subset of this artificial intelligence, and they get its result, like I said, by throwing a lot of data at a lot of compute. And yes, this is also something which happens in society. It's called doom scrolling. All these social medias make specifically our children, but also adults, completely addicted to continuously getting that little bit of dopamine of scrolling and having some interesting satisfaction. And there's been studies that if you take an LLM and you let it doom scroll on one of these platforms, it will also produce brain rot. And if you then reset its memory, clear all the caches, it will still have a broken memory. So in fact, LLM is trying to mimic something of bad behavior that we already have. Now, let's see how big and bad this thing is, what we're currently doing. We saw in our second keynote, Antje explaining how much devastating amount of energy and water all these AIs use. And if you compare the race for super AI by those big 8 tech companies, 7 making the AIs, and the 8th one is NVIDIA itself, who sells all the chips, and you compare that to the Apollo program. And this is obviously within some time scale. So what I did, I compensated for the inflation, because more time passes, the less value money has. So in order to see how this process is going, you want to invert the scale. So you take a logarithmic scale, and then we see that the Apollo program has a nice curve, but the investment in AI, it's not going up. If it would go up, it would be even worse, but it's almost a straight line, meaning that there is no end to this yet. And so far, since 2014, there's like 988 billion amount of US dollars invested. And I typed it out somewhere. No, I didn't. But that's like 1 million times 1 million times the number which came before. Now, if we compare those two, in Apollo we had a fixed mission. We were going to the moon, and we set foot on the moon. So we had a defined engineering target, as well as the state invested the money and budgeted it so that the moon was shot and that Neil Armstrong could set his foot in there. In AI, it is a little bit different. You have like private funding, public funding, the military is involved, there's hyperscalers, and there's a lot of sovereign capital being pushed in there. And there's no fixed endpoint. There is no goal on the horizon. So yeah, we absolutely have no clue when this is going to end and if it will end and where it will actually end up. And the capital is still accelerating in a constant pace. So with the inflation, it's currently about 3.6 times the amount of money that has been pushed into getting a person on the moon that is invested into LLMs. And so if we deduct that and say, okay, these people that invested want to make a profit, usually that's between 120 and 150%. So they make 20 to 50% revenue. That will mean that currently this AI is sold to you. I'm paying 20 euros a month for my ChatGPT, but that's not the value. That's 20% of the actual cost of electricity and water and the down payment on the hardwares. So if they want to make it profitable, it needs to increase by a factor of at least 6 to 8 times. So we're going to pay 6 to 8 times more to play around with these LLMs to get break even and to make profit. Yeah, and AI doesn't know where the moon is yet, so we'll find out. So these are the people that are the billionaires, and most of them are building bomb shelters in their own gardens or in the premises. Maybe Mr. Elon doesn't because he wants to go to Mars, but we'll see. And yeah, those people are building. It's like Meta is currently planning a data center the size of New York. Here I put the zeros. So like million times 30 billion, that makes 30 billion. And yeah, this thing is going to be built now. It's not going to build exactly on top of Manhattan. They will build it elsewhere within the US, of course. And the goal of all these companies is to make an artificial super intelligence. And that would be able to strip everybody out of a job. Currently, it's already the case that if you were a Salesforce consultant, 8 of your colleagues are already fired. Because with AI, you can do the same job with 2 people that previously took 10 people. And they eventually want to own the entire world economics without giving anything back. There is no social contract, no nothing like that. And besides that, while playing and vibe coding, you are also contributing because you are filling in those gaps which were not defined within that big blob of data that's been thrown at the GPUs. So there you are. You're sitting there vibing nicely. And meanwhile, you give them extra knowledge and power. So what will happen besides this water and electricity that is being abused? Well, it could lead to a real beautiful world. I stole this one from the first keynote and I add a few nice Greek gods to that, and it would be so lovely if it would give us a society like Homo Universalis by Johan Huizinga. It's a Dutch author, and in that society, it's called human Homo Ludens, the playing person, the playing man. There we, as humans, would only be busy with having fun, making poetry, making music, and all the stuff that have no use to computers, but are very satisfactional to us. But yeah, it's not the case because the intent and the incentive of these and the business goals of these companies are not to create these structures and to help society. So what could it be? Could it be a bubble then? It could be. It could be. Since I believe it like this, if you have a brute force compute, it can never abstract so that it will become super intelligence. And with super intelligence, you have to think about, okay, the most smartest person that we know might be Einstein. You multiply it by at least 100 or 1000, and that's the amount of brain power that we're talking about. So it depends on the technology. If there is different kinds of technology, for example, quantum computing with lights or FPGAs that can switch or process on the box, there's many different ways. I'm not going to tell them all. Then it might be that this whole bubble bursts and that we can finally buy very cheap GPUs for ourselves. This also leads to a general displacement of power. We've seen it on the first day. Where did the juniors go? That talk, really interesting talk. Agree with most of what that speaker said. This pyramid. But the difference is that he ended at the juniors, and I believe that you can continue this process slightly up. At a certain point, it will be more difficult to have, with this computing power, enough reasoning to keep logical products come out. However, at the top side, you don't need so much brain power in order to be a financial boss or a technical boss or a boss. So that could be an opportunity as well. And we already see it within certain startups. This is a proposed future for the learning models, that you have one or two people that run an entire company, not as the boss, but just as an investor. And they're sitting there in the Bahamas on the beach, and one company got bankrupted, lost a few billion, but sure, we have 10 more that run around. Yeah, it's not the best scenario for all of us, even if you're like one of the best coders in the world. So if we knew nothing, and something like the intelligence curse could occur. So more powerful AI will push automation through existing organizations, starting from the bottom that we saw in the pyramid. AI will make humans obsolete. And there will be nothing to nothing in return. And we already see it at Amazon in the United States, where people that used to work in their warehouses have been replaced with robots. And there's huge lines waiting for the welfare office. Not the best scenario to see. So yeah, it will, it's not so bright, it's not so future. And yeah, it could lead to total devastation of humanity. It could. It could be the end of the world. We don't know. So what can we do then if that such a thing happens? I was imagining who else is in such a position, so that you, as in comparison, if you have a human and we flip sides with a squirrel. So the LLMs become the humans and we are the squirrels. How can we cope and how can we survive and continue? A good example is the mother and child relation. Mother is a boss. She decides what happens with the child. However, the child has so much influence over the mother by the love for the mother for the child, that if it cries, it gets fat. And if it doesn't want the parent to sleep, it keeps on crying and the night is ruined. So that could be something. Which leads to like a mutually assured political revolution. There's 2 links in there for further reference and look up. I have a little video. I'm not sure if the sound works. Can try. Before it does. Oops. What was this? The next key. Let's try.
For the first time, a miraculous movement occurs. Thousands of cells light up as one and make your heart beat. That is the first time our bodies move. But right now, another force is making moves. 8 billionaires are racing to make the most powerful AI, and we're the ones who will lose.
Estimated at least 200,000 jobs have been lost to AI.
It's not me, it's the extended. Anyway, this is the same comparison that I just explained out. The humans tend.
Domestic mass surveillance is getting ahead of the law. Well, I mean, we still need humans? Not for most things. AI could eliminate nearly 100 million U.S. jobs.
Good idea.
AI will probably lead to the end of the world. Senator, if we try to fight this alone, we'll fail. But there are only 8 of them, and there are 8 billion of us. Deep down, at a cellular level, we already know what to do. Right now, we have an opening before it's too late. We need to meet this moment with one human
This is a promo film for an NGO. It's called the Human Movement.org. And they have been thinking about, okay, hopefully this bubble will burst, or what can we do? How can we? Uh, the website actually says we have one chance. If we collectively protest, we might get our decision makers to make policy and help steer this in the right direction. If it's a bubble, there might be a second chance. So from these ideas and rules, we can learn. And this fell off. Else my computer will collapse as well. We don't want. We don't want it. So we should actually think about how to design AI and then build it safely and transparently. If the AI companies are building products, those products require testing. They weren't tested, they were just deployed. And on the hand, you have new features and new things that accidentally occur before they reach the billions of people. The burden of the proof belongs to the builder, not the public. AI companies owe a duty of care to the public. Pharmaceutical companies can't skip safety trials. You can't just put random medicines into people. Car manufacturers can't ignore safety. Why is there no such rules for building AI systems? And so the AI companies must be held to the same standards of accountability and liability as other industries. There's no exceptions to that. AI design should center on human well-being. It should help us. When AI is designed to seem human, so we build and trust and robust situations, capture attention or manufacture connections. Sorry, I need to add some water. That is manipulation, not innovation. So AI must not be designed to mimic humanity. Fourth one, AI should not automate away meaningful work and human dignity. People should still have a place. Else, what are we then? We become batteries for the matrix or new compute for the matrix. We don't know. So it should strengthen us, make us more capable, and not get rid of us. So 5, AI innovation should not come at the expense of our rights and freedoms. Your data, your attention, and your behavior are not raw materials that can be extracted and can be sold. That's what's happening with the Grok. If you use it in the browser, that data, as well as everything you talk to Siri and all those other Santa little helpers that have been provided, all that data, you pay with it. That's why you get the service for free. So AI must be designed to serve the people using it and not harm them like it is now. 6th one, AI should have an intentionally agreed upon limits. Without agreement limits across nations. So it's also that we have the GDPR that helps us, but the American Privacy Act gives the US state as well as all the companies access to all the data, regardless where it comes from in the world, as long as it's stored in the United States. And the governments must coordinate it, and in Europe, they're slowly starting to debate about it and start to think to do something about it, but nothing is happening yet. And we don't want these lines to be crossed. 7th one, last one, AI power should be balanced in society. So the people most affected by AI have had almost no voice, how it built or governed. The future AI shapes must be decided by us all, not as a handful of companies or governments. So from that, there is critical discussions that you can take home. There is a documentary where this is, maybe somebody have seen that. It's launched last month, 27th of last month. It's called The AI Doc, and it's available in pay-per-view on Amazon Prime and Apple TV and a few others. and it's low entry, easy accessible for family and peers to at least get an idea of what is happening with social media and within the LLMs, whom currently also include doom scrolling. So if you're going through your ChatGPT session, sometimes it's a lot of things like, it doesn't make sense at all. And at a certain point, you say, this is interesting. And you go up and down the same way as the dopamine goes through a Twitter or Instagram or a YouTube playlist. I'm missing something. It's way too fast. Done, 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 done. 42 slides. Should be one per minute. Yeah. No, we covered. Okay. Then we had questions.
Thank you for the presentation. I have two questions,
Yes.
and if somebody else wants to ask, I will ask only one of the two, so not to monopolize the conversation. My first question has to do about how can communities handle the issue of the ownership of the infrastructure, meaning software has to run on something, and these data centers, even the large servers, are actually owned by something, which is an economic actor that has very specific economic interests, mostly prioritizing growth and economic interests, usually at the expense of social value. We see this all the time. How can communities handle this?
Yes. There is already a tool set available for such issues. An example, something like N8N, where you have an agent-based architecture, so you keep your logic and your secrets on your own services. Personally, I use Hetzner Germany, as well as on-prem edge services. And in there, I do my logic for what is going on. And then I make a connection to an external service because I cannot afford any of those huge GPUs with only that instruction. It will save me tokens as well as mm, doesn't give away so much of my ideas and results of data to them. Does that answer your question?
Yes, mostly. Do I have some time for a second question?
Yes,
People? You can ask too. No. I don't want to monopolize. If we have time later.
Okay.
We still have 9 minutes,
Okay.
so we can do like 10 questions.
I would like to ask. We are probably all developers here, so more or less we can understand, at least on an abstract level, of how some of how LLMs work. I would like to ask you, how much do you think that's actually the technology that it's dangerous, and how much that it's probably rhetoric of these big tech companies wanting to push for deregulation and like all that thing happens?
Yes. Actually, your question is twofold. A, the technology by itself is not the problem. The problem is that it's interwoven with marketing, and that everybody that didn't see the first keynote thinks that LLMs are AI, and that it's a necessity for them to be competitive. Thus, currently, a lot of companies are putting money in learning how they should use LLMs and AI. And then they think that because it makes so much, you can't use bullcrap. With some information that looks okay, they start laying off people and starting this snowball effect in a way. And the second part is I would call it hidden agenda of those 8 billionaires, because they want to dominate the world. Else you wouldn't do it in this way. You would have had guardrails from the start. You would have had warnings from the start within your license agreements and so forth. Nobody reads that, but anyway, that whole principle is skewed, and it's not designed. So yeah, that I think the second question might not be fully answered, but the first one I think should be. Other question?
Thank you. My second question is twofold. I'm kind of a pessimist, and I want your take on this. So, what we see now is a total commodification of both our labor and of daily commodities, a further commodification. For example, I have a car, I can lease this car. I have a personal computer. Soon I won't be able to own my personal computer. I will have it as a service, and maybe I can even lease my computer power to a collective in order to make some money on the right. Assuming that we have solved the original problem that your presentation addressed, and we have created a vast network of people being completely aligned to the goal of personal and social freedom, how do we escape the historic paradigm of the common land at the start of capitalism, meaning that we create a value, a communal value, a place when we can work sovereign and free, and at some point we are regulated away from our ownership or autonomy? That is my question.
Yeah, yeah. So you, yeah, okay. The first part was about the second part was on the comments. That's the easy part. Can you go back a little bit to the start of the stuff?
They are intertwined in the sense that if I am unable to assert
Yeah, yeah,
ownership
yeah.
over not even my labor, but not even my personal computer, not over my sources,
Mm-hmm.
and in the case of AI, even my ability to interact with the technology is paywalled.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it is
Yeah,
completely
so your car, your computer, and everything you lease, meaning that you don't own it, and with the incentives that come with it, you cannot control it. So you become a slave of your uh, of the stuff that you rent. That's the first part. There's even a third one, but we come to that. The second one is an issue which has been shown within communism. There you had these Kozhov and Sokov farms, where collectively it was farmed for the whole country, and then you had a little piece of own parts of common lands, and those were flourishing, and the rest wasn't working so well. And if you go with from the first and the second, there is not so much incentive in sharing and caring and having open source and those kinds of added, to me, added values. There's even a third problem to this one, because if the whole society is eaten up and being robotized, there is no consumers anymore. So in the end, there is nothing left to gain from society, meaning that some think that it will lead to a doom scenario where you have only data centers all around the world and nothing else. So then we end up in the matrix as a battery or as a compute that could create the super intelligence. I hope that answered the question. Okay, we have 3 more minutes, so we can do 2 more or 3.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. So, a popular debate question these days is that one of the reasons that the Ottoman Empire collapsed was that they denied the embrace of automation of printing with the Gutenberg machine, and instead of like firing a big amount of people that were doing the handwriting, the books, the calligraphers, they kept on paying them on the payroll because the union of the calligraphers were so big and they had the influence inside the Ottoman Empire. So with that said, I believe that we are kind in the same situation here, because as we can all see, nobody does this anymore, like handwriting a book. We just buy a book printed by a machine, and this is totally fine. Nothing changed. The world didn't collapse. But the demand, the market regulates the demand regarding like how many software engineers I need and how much I can pay them now. Also, the phrase that's out is that code is cheap these days, so it is not how it used to be. So I want to hear like your thoughts on this, and if this is like something that we should embrace the AI, or we should become like something like calligraphers that became obsolete in the passage of time.
We all should collectively demand our governments to include a form of a social contract. So if you're currently a factory worker in the United States being replaced because there's robotics, there should be an option for you to at least do something useful with your time. Second part of that would be with regards to the printing press and why this empire collapsed. Um, they got side shifted, but I don't really get that relation. Um, yeah, M- missing a part here, but almost.
Yeah. Question is like, should we? For I mentioned this popular debate is because they kept spending a big amount of money paying all these calligraphers.
Yeah. Oh,
so they didn't have the funds to sustain any like other critical parts of the empire.
Yeah, another thing that we should demand on top of that is to change our tax system. So if you would tax the tokens instead of the euros, this is something that we got from the past. We now have a different religion. We used to have a religion that we believed in God, or whatever name it might have. Now we believe in money. We get it up, we go to our bosses, we work, and with that money, we store our energy that we gave our bosses, and with that, we can buy new food. That's our current cycle. But if this AI race really takes off and we go from LLM to actual AIs, money shouldn't have that much value anymore. So there should be another kind of taxation.
Yeah, Elon Musk says that there should be a UBI at some point, like a universal basic income for all people that either lose their job because of the AI or because our society becomes like so flourished because of the AI, and then we can just keep.
I would personally opt in for a third option, like we've seen in Star Trek. In Star Trek, it is the case that everybody contributes and together we make a collective, same way as that people are currently now working in our contribution rooms without any benefit, and they have the gratification from contributing to this collective ecosystem. And food and drink and fun is provided as is because there is an abundance. And that could lead, coming back again to the story of Homo ludens by Heidegger, and to me, that would make an ideal world. But we're currently at the start of that. And it's going skewed because those 8 people, and maybe with them a lot more, want to have everything for themselves. Yes.
Thanks.
Just 2 more? Yes. Great. Nice. I like it that you ask so many questions. Should have made my presentation even shorter.
Hey, thanks for your presentation as well as your answers now. And I really like your vision that you just described, but your presentation as well as some of your other answers seem to focus on the need to regulate the technology and the data used and stuff like that. But real life dictates that the billionaires are the ones that can ignore the rules. So shouldn't we actually be pushing for more openness of the technology and of the data instead of regulating it? If the data was available to anyone and the code was available to anyone, then the people that can get them, even if it's restricted to, lose their power, basically.
Yeah, and there's on top of that another inequality that is our life and our environment. We see it now with Trump and Iran, that what we do is we use power. 99.999% of the power that we use comes from the sun. It's from all of us. The ones that we get from the ground, it was plants that grew when the dinosaurs were there. Wind power is produced by the sun since air rises and so forth, solar power, etc. So what we should do is make this value system based upon power and use the power in a nice and proper, a good way. And I think with that, it is possible to get help from smart systems, make it more democratic, and so forth. But everybody has to contribute together. The politicians, us ourselves as smart engineers, people in the public, and so forth. And if we would all collectively think about that and discuss about it, it could give us a way to get rid of that. But we have to make sacrifices. We have to stop doom scrolling. We have to close the Facebook. We have to. And if we're not doing that and we stay addicted to these kinds of systems, that is what makes these billionaires empowered to do whatever the hashtag they want. I think that answers the question not in the expected way, but in the way that I would say is the way to go. I saw another question, no? Yeah, here. Yeah.
I just want to give some food for thought.
Yes.
Like, okay, in your presentation you said, okay, if we reach artificial intelligence, then artificial intelligence and robots do everything, then who's stayed back to consume it? Nobody can consume it. So anyway, the billionaires have nothing else to win. So what's there? Is it a way to reduce overpopulation?
Yes.
And then, but you can see this in so many different ways. Also, like, okay, industrial, what's the word? Industrial expansion, 19 something.
Yeah,
revolution. That's the word I was searching. Thank you. It didn't produce, it didn't distinguish humanity. We just changed the different things. And there's so many ways you can.
And we made our CO2 go from 200 to currently 400 parts per million year. Yes.
Yeah. So if nobody can consume at the end of the day, what's to win?
Yeah. And with each transition comes after, you need the previous one to make it worse in order to get to a better state. And that is something that I think we cannot escape as a society.
Exactly.
Because it's been a self-fulfilling prophecy and a returning phenomena. But the issue at hand now is that we take it for granted. We let us, no, I wouldn't say, we let ourselves get brain rotted. And with that, think that it is a real great thing, but it isn't. It could be, if we think about it and redesign it and do it in a humane way, that it benefits us all. True. One more? No? Okay, then thank you. Yes, bro. Do you believe that this agenda 2030? There is the 50s, the Bilderberg, and in there they just had the general idea. Okay, so we see this population going up. In theory, the Earth can have 13 billion people with all the food that we produce. But want to reduce it to much less. And I think this is also one of the phenomena that came out. Another one is cigarette. Invent for kill people. I'm addicted. Same thing is for many other. Man, I'm gonna try money again. because now it's impossible. It's way too cheap.
I'm trying to ask the question.
Yeah.
There's no answer to this comment,
Mhm.
but while I agree with everything that you said, and by the way, you seem to know a lot of very bizarre facts just off the top of your head. But okay, so we need to regulate the basically. Aren't you preaching to the choir here? Because what are we supposed to do about it? It's kind of like not an opinion.
Yes. You are, yes.
Is this not a tasting session?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's not right.
It tastes good.
And that was you're actually. I also missed that slide, but I think I can find it later.
Yeah, most likely you can. Everything. Yes, you're welcome.
So next time when you give that presentation, first of all, you're gonna let me fix the typos. Next time when you give that presentation, I'm gonna give you that slide that you just showed me, because I missed the details. I didn't have time to get my phone out before you switched to the next slide.
Yeah, it was an impression that I had too little time. That sucked. And the ones with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I should have prepared that one better in mind with regard to the flow of
Watch your
information.
glasses. We're gonna go for glasses. That was a really good presentation. I think it was
Thanks.
well put together. It's just it felt like a hopeless battle.
What?
We don't have control over our governments. It's just
We should be a democracy.
yeah.
Should be.
So why do you know so many weird ass random things like 13 billion people on planet? Oh, yeah, you're autistic.
Yeah. You got everything? Nice to meet you.
I had a question. I actually liked the visuals. They were very engaging.
I think I left my secrets here. No, I'm good.
You remember what I said?
Yeah.